He always believed that certain encounters happen exactly when a soul is on the verge of collapsing. They are not coincidences, they are not accidents. They are silent movements of heaven, drawn by a God who sees what no one else can see. And that's why this story begins at the top of a forgotten hill, where a lonely old man and a young woman shattered by life would meet without knowing that, on that day, the destiny of both would be rewritten by the hand of God. But before speaking of that encounter, I need to take you to the Yellow House, a place where pain found rest, and where silence finally spoke. A story about loss, rediscovery, and the God who restores silence. There was a place in Brazil where the wind seemed to carry ancient memories. It was the Hill of Hope, a modest rise surrounded by fields of crops. On the top, there were only three things: a weather-beaten lookout, a small wooden shrine, and an old house painted in a yellow that had almost vanished with time. In that house lived Mr. Teodoro, 74 years old, a man with short, slow steps and a distant gaze. His thinning white hair looked like fading threads of light, and his skin was marked like tree bark. No one knew exactly when he had arrived there. They only said that one day they saw him climbing the hill with a small backpack and a folded Bible in his hand, and he never came down again. Everyone in the village called him the Old Man of the Yellow House. He never complained. In fact, he barely spoke at all. He had lived alone for many years. People only knew he was calm, kind, always willing to help anyone who climbed up to his door. He fixed tools, trimmed branches, soothed crying children, and even prayed for the sick. But when the sun sank behind the hills, he closed the door, turned off the lights, and sat in silence, as if waiting for something, or someone. And though no one knew it, an old, quiet pain followed him like a shadow. Before living on the hill, Teodoro had been a literature professor in a large city. He had a wife, Laura, and a son, Caio. His entire world fit inside their small apartment. He loved remembering their laughter bouncing against the walls, the nights reading stories aloud, the mornings when Laura served weak coffee because she always forgot to measure the water. But all of that was torn from him on a rainy night. The family was coming back from church when a drunk driver lost control of his truck and collided with their car. Laura and Caio didn't even make it to the hospital. Teodoro, by miracle, survived, but he survived broken. Guilt hardened inside his chest like a stone. For months, he couldn't sleep. For years, he couldn't live. Until one day, he simply started walking. With no direction, no destination. He walked so much that his shoes fell apart. He slept in train stations, on park benches, in empty churches. He wandered until exhaustion dropped him in the village at the foot of the Hill of Hope. It was as if his feet already knew what he didn't, that there, exactly there, God was waiting for him. 23 years later, at the end of a hot August, something Teodoro never expected happened. The dirt road that led to the top of the hill, usually empty, received an unexpected visitor. A thin young woman carrying a heavy backpack, eyes swollen from crying, and steps trembling like someone with no ground under her feet. Her name was Ana Clara, 27 years old. She had lost her job, her father, and her will to keep going, all within the same year. She felt like a burden to her mother, who still worked as a seamstress to pay the bills, and to make things worse, a 4-year engagement had ended in betrayal and humiliation. That day, overwhelmed by a suffocating despair, Ana took a bus and got off in the little village without knowing why. She just wanted to escape the city where everything reminded her of pain. She asked a few villagers if there was a quiet place to think, and all of them, without exception, gave the same answer. "Climb the hill. Up there lives a good man." She didn't understand, but she went. When she reached the top, exhausted and breathless, she saw the yellow house, the peeling paint, the open windows letting the wind pass through, the smell of fresh coffee rising from the chimney. She knocked gently, afraid to disturb. "Come in, my daughter," said a rough yet steady voice. She entered. Teodoro was sitting in a wooden chair, calmly peeling cassava. He looked at her like someone who recognized a pain already lived. Anna tried to speak, but no sound came out. She collapsed into tears. The old man didn't ask anything. He simply placed a hot cup of coffee in front of her. And for the first time in a long while, Anna Clara felt seen. Anna intended to stay only a few hours, but her emotional exhaustion was so deep that before she realized it, days had passed. Teodoro asked no intrusive questions. He was like a garden, welcoming without demanding. He taught her how to light the wood stove, how to recognize the birds' songs, how to pick herbs for tea, and how to fix small things around the house. In the silent afternoons, he read Bible passages in a low voice. Anna no longer believed in anything, but his calm tone made her listen, even without fully understanding. One morning she asked, "Have you lived alone for a long time?" Teodoro gave a sad smile. "I have. But God never left me alone. I was the one who got lost from him for many years." "And how did you find him again?" He lifted his eyes, filled with peace. "It was God who found me. When I no longer wanted to live, he brought me to this hill. Here I learned to breathe again." His words echoed inside her. Anna noticed something. Every night, just before 9, Teodoro climbed to the small shrine at the top of the hill and stood there, staring at the darkness for a long time. One night, curiosity won. "Why do you come here every night at the same time?" Teodoro held the wooden base of the shrine with both hands as if holding a memory. "Because it was at this hour that I lost my family," he said softly. "And it's at this hour that I give my pain back to God. Every single day." A knot formed in Anna's throat. It was the first time he spoke of his past. "I've lost so much too," she confessed. "I lost my father, my hope, even my self-worth." "God knows exactly where it hurt you," Teodoro said. "And he's working so that this pain won't be your end, but your beginning." She cried quietly. Teodoro gently placed a hand on her shoulder, with the tenderness of someone who knows how to touch without hurting. One afternoon, the sky darkened quickly. A violent storm hit the village. Lightning tore through the sky, and the yellow house shook with the wind. Anna was alone inside. Teodoro had gone down the hill to deliver medicine to a family. Hours passed, and he didn't return. The rain worsened. When the clock struck almost 10 at night, Anna made an impulsive decision. She grabbed a coat, ran down the hill, and searched for him. She found Teodoro sitting under a roof edge, soaked, holding his arm in pain. "Mr. Teodoro, why didn't you come back?" "The flood washed out part of the road," he said weakly. "I tried to climb, but I slipped." She helped him up, and the two walked slowly through the heavy rain. Even injured, he looked at her tenderly. "You shouldn't have come." "I was afraid of losing someone else," she whispered. He smiled. "God will never let you lose what he promised to you." Back at the house, Anna heated water, cleaned his wound, and he fell asleep, exhausted. She watched him for a long time and realized something. In the middle of fear, storm, and pain, she no longer felt alone. The following days were filled with care. Anna cared for Teodoro, and Teodoro cared for her soul, with simple advice, warm teas, short prayers, and a silence that spoke more than words. She began writing in a notebook, first loose phrases, then thoughts, until one day she wrote, "I discovered that pain doesn't disappear, but God gives it a place to rest." Teodoro read it and said, "You have a gift. Write. Tell stories. God will use it to heal someone." Anna laughed, embarrassed. "Me? Heal someone?" "You already started," he said, placing a hand over his own heart. You healed this old man's loneliness." Her eyes filled with tears. A month later, on a copper-colored afternoon, a car climbed the hill. A modern, shiny vehicle, too polished for that simple place. Anna and Teodoro were tending to the plants when the car stopped in front of the house. Anna's mother stepped out, eyes swollen and full of fear. "My daughter," she whispered, running to embrace her. Anna cried in her mother's arms. She hadn't had the strength to call home for weeks. Her mother looked at Teodoro. "Are you the one taking care of my girl?" "No, ma'am," he said with a gentle smile. "She's the one taking care of me." The three talked on the porch until nightfall. Before leaving, Anna's mother held Teodoro's hand. "Thank you. You gave my daughter back to me." He shook his head. "It was God who returned her. I only offered her a place to breathe." That night, Anna sat outside, staring at the stars. Teodoro approached slowly. "I think your mother wants you back," he said kindly. "I know," Anna answered with a sad smile, "but part of me doesn't want to go." "Afraid of what?" "Of going back and losing this peace." Teodoro placed his hand over her heart. "The peace isn't on the hill, my child. It's inside you, and God will go with you wherever you go." She cried softly, because she knew it was true. He continued, "I also had to leave once to find myself again. Now it's your turn. Go, start over, and when you miss this place, you know the way back." She hugged him tightly. And in that embrace, she felt as though she were hugging God himself, saying, "I was always here." Anna went back home with her mother. She restarted her life slowly, found a new job, began writing again, went to therapy, reconnected with friends, and rediscovered herself. Every week she sent letters to Teodoro, handwritten, long, full of details. He replied with shaky handwriting and wise words. Months passed. Anna wrote her first book of Chronicles. In the dedication, she wrote, "For the guardian of the yellow house, for the man who taught me that God speaks in silence." The book started small, but touched many lives. And in every story, there was a piece of that hill, that shrine, that old man who transformed pain into welcome. A year later, Anna received a different envelope. It was from one of the villagers. "Dear Anna Clara, Mr. Teodoro passed away yesterday at sunset. They say he was sitting by the shrine, looking at the horizon, smiling. The Bible was open at Psalm 34. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He didn't suffer. He went in peace. He left a letter for you in his room. Come when you can." Anna's hands trembled. Tears came before she could breathe. 2 days later, she stood before the yellow house. Her chest ached, but her heart was warm with memory. She found the envelope with her name written crookedly. She opened it slowly. His shaky, simple handwriting said, "My dear girl, if I'm gone, don't cry. God took me to those I love. But know this, you brought light to my last days. Thank you for letting me be part of your healing, and thank you for healing me too. Keep writing, Anna. Keep living. And remember, people pass, but the love we give remains. We will meet again on another hill, the hill of eternity. With love, Teodoro." Anna closed her eyes and breathed deeply. Right there, kneeling on the porch, she whispered, "Thank you, God, for giving me someone who showed me your love when I needed it the most." The wind blew softly, warm like an embrace. Today, Anna Clara visits the hill every year on Teodoro's birthday. The yellow house has been turned into a small refuge for weary travelers, a place where people in despair find hot coffee, a simple bed, and a silence that heals. On the main wall hangs a framed phrase he always repeated, "God finds those who are lost." And on the porch, a chair remains facing the sunset, not to remember absence, but to honor presence. Anna continues writing, healing lives with her stories. And whenever someone asks where she learned to see beauty even in pain, she replies, "On top of a hill, in a yellow house, with a man who taught me that God dwells in silence." If this story spoke to you, if it touched a scar, stirred a memory, or reached a place inside you that you don't show to anyone, write here in the comments, "I believe that God transforms destinies." And tell me where you're watching from, so I can see how far this message is reaching. Share this video with someone who urgently needs a sign, a touch from God, a reminder that their story is not over, because when God decides to transform a destiny, nothing can stop him.